Hi everyone, thank you very much for watching this video and for subscribing to my channels. A few days back I was video chatting with one of my subscribers. He was having an issue with his Falcon controller. So after we solved the issue, something else came up. He was trying to use one of these devices, which is a smart receiver, which basically what it does, it extends the distance between your Falcon controller and your pixels. There's a limitation of maybe 30 to 50 feet if you just use a plain wire. But if you have to go the distance 50, 100 or 150 feet or even longer than that, well, you can do it. So this device will solve that issue. Pretty much you plug it into your controller and now you can have 4 ports 200 feet away from your controller. Long story short, we couldn't make it work. I never used one of these before. So what I did is I bought one and I learned how to use it. So basically the purpose of this video is to show you how you can use one of these in your show if you have the need of more than 50 or 60 feet in one of your elements. Okay. So let's jump right into it. Let me show you what I have here for you. So if we look at this diagram, let's imagine that, well, we have our Falcon controller and we have a few elements between 20 and 40 feet. It all depends on the quality of your wires and the gauge that you're using. But let's say that you have a need of doing your roof line or doing another mega tree 100 feet or more than that. It's claimed that it can go as far as 300 feet. We're not going to test that. I'm just going to show you how you can connect it to your Falcon controller and how you can configure it. It's kind of hard to understand. At least for me it was. It works different depending on which type of controller you're using. Also, one thing to note is that the Falcon controller that we're using has no expansion board. It's just out of the box a plain F16V3 with a smart receiver plug into it. Okay, we're not using expansion boards and nothing like that. Okay, there's some limitations and I will show you what those limitations are. Now, so we can have a cable between this port over here, which is the serial port number 1, all the way to these 2 connectors on the receiver. Now, because of this, we're not sending power over this Ethernet cable, which, by the way, we're not sending Ethernet data. It's just a twisted pair cable that we're using, right? And on this side, since we're not sending power, you need to have a power supply large enough to power your pixels and the board. The board takes anything between 5 and 12 volts. Now, the thing is that if you power it with 5 volts, then all your pixels that are plugged into this device needs to be 5 volts. If you use a 12 volt power supply, then that means that you're going to have 12 volts pixels connected to it. Okay, so you just be careful with that. I mean, you can have maybe 12 volts on this side, but you can have 5 volts on this side. So that's another good thing to it. Now we have 4 ports on here. Now we're not adding ports to the Falcon. What we're doing is we're just moving them away. We're substituting the ones that we have on our main board with a smart receiver, an expansion, this expansion, so we'll still have 16 ports and the same number of pixels that you can take, okay, that the controller can serve. Since we have 4 ports and we know that we can have 1024 per port, well, we can control just over 4,000 pixels in one of these devices. So let me show you another detail, a close-up of this device, because there's some setups that we will need to do in here. So basically, this is a close-up. So again, we have 4 ports. This is the ports where we're going to plug our strings. We have port number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4. They're still protected by a 5 amp fuse in here. We're going to plug the energy in here, 5 or 12 volts. We have 4 LED indicators in here, and this is important. I would like you to pay attention to these 4 lights as we do the live demo. We have what they're called terminator switches, 2 of them right here. Both of the switches need to be set up at the same way. Up if this device is the last one, or down if we have a daisy chain between 2 or more of this. We can have up to 3 in certain configurations. I couldn't make it work. I only have 1, so I didn't test if I can have 2 or 3 of them, but we'll see that more in a minute. Okay, so for this video, they're up, meaning that this is the last device that we're gonna have in our string, because we're only gonna use 4 ports. Okay, and on the back there's another configuration. There's a small diagram in here that will let you know how to set up these switches on the bottom, which is called the mode. We have a normal mode, A, B, and C. You know, since we can have up to 3, we can call them device A, device B, and device C. For this case, we're going to set it up to be device A. Okay, and on the bottom we have this Ethernet like ports. Again, we're not sending Ethernet data, we just, you know, our RJ45 type of connectors. You can plug them in any of them, it doesn't matter. Just plug it in one of them. I'm going to use the one on the left, and that's pretty much it, you know. So let's I'm going to pause the video at this point. I'm going to get everything plugged into my controller and some pixels, and I'll be back with you in 1 minute for a live demo on how to set it up. Okay, so I'll be right back. Okay, and I'm back. So let me show you the configuration that I have here. So I have my Falcon controller. It's already powered on. That blue cable is coming from serial port number 1, which is a port that can handle all 4 serial ports from the Falcon controller. As you can see, no expansion board, just a plain F16V3 Falcon controller. So we have that blue cable coming into one of the ports of the receiver. So let me tell you what I have here. So we have the power connected, 12 volts coming from my Falcon controller power supply. This mode switch is set to A, and both of the terminator switches are in the up position, meaning that this is the last of a possible series of 3 smart receivers that we can have. We have 4 ports, and take a closer look here. We have those LEDs. Right now they're lit, meaning that it's receiving data. But let's see, if yours are not on, don't worry about it, because chances are that the next configuration I'm going to show you is the reason why. So let me show you what I have on the Falcon controller interface. So the first thing we're going to do is go into the output settings and then into the serial ports. So right now it's set to send serial data of DMX type. And this is wrong. We're not sending DMX. We're gonna send data, pixel data. Okay. So if you click on the mode, you will see that you have 2 choices: serial data or pixel data. So let's choose pixel data for all 4 ports. If you notice, now it changed to a list of ports that we can have, you know, port 1 to port number 16, which are the ports that we have in our Falcon controller. Again, no expansion boards. So I'm going to click save, but take a look at those LEDs on the smart receiver. As soon as I click save, they go off. Okay, so now we lost communication with the receiver, but that's okay for now because we still have to do some other configuration. And now we know that this is the right setup for our Falcon controller when we have a smart receiver plug into it. Okay, so now let's go again into output settings, and now let's see our string ports, which are basically the ports that we are using in our Falcon controller. We have 16 ports, and if you notice, we have this blue plus sign, and if I hover over, it says convert to smart receiver, convert to smart receiver, convert to smart receiver, and convert to smart receiver. So if you notice, we have one each 4 ports, you know, port 1, 5, 9, and 13, because our smart receiver has 4 ports. Okay, so we're gonna convert 4 of them to be smart receivers. So I'm not gonna mess up with this one because I'm using them right now, but I'm gonna click on the last one. As soon as I click in, now we have port 13A, 14A, 15A, and 16A. And this says smart receiver 13 to 16A. So now what we did is map this port to our receiver. Okay. Now, still some more setup that we need to do. I'm gonna connect, just for testing purposes, one string of 50 lights. So this setup seems to be okay. Now, start channels. More about channels. If you want to learn more about channels, I highly recommend for you to see my initial setup for my Falcon controller. You will learn how to use it. But for now, I can tell that I'm using channels 1 through 7,415. So I'm just gonna assign channel number 8,000 in here. I'm not worried about losing channels in between. And this one I'm gonna do 9,000. So we can get to those ports or that string in a good manner, right? I mean, that's how we're gonna find them. So I'm gonna save the settings. I'm losing channels in between because right now I know that each of these lights uses only 3 channels, red, green, and blue. So I'm only using 150 channels. And for this one, again, only 150 channels, okay? Starting on channel 9,000, okay. So we're gonna leave things like this right now. I'm gonna click save again just to make sure that it's saved. Now let's move into xLights, okay? This is not configured yet, okay? But I want to show you what are we gonna do in the xLights so you can understand better the setup that I'm gonna do, okay? Meanwhile, I'm gonna plug one of the strings in here. I'm gonna move in closer, and I'm gonna plug another one to port number 2. So we have port number 1, port number 2. I'm gonna move in closer so we can see. Okay, much better. And now I'm gonna go and open xLights. And when xLights open, I'm gonna show you how you can create a new layout without messing with the one you have right now. So if I go into layout, this is the layout that I have right now. Okay, I have this is my 2021 show I'm still working on it. I added more snowflakes, some candy canes, and some hanging light bulbs, okay? Now, I don't want to mess with my layout right now, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the controllers, and I'm going to temporarily change the path of my settings. So I'm going to click change. I'm going to create a new folder, and I'm going to name it Smart Receiver Test. I'm gonna select that folder and click select folder. Okay, now my layout is empty. I also lost my controller setup, but that's fine because I'm gonna add one. It's first simple, I know where all the data. My controller is sitting on IP 010.0.1.85. Is active. The vendor is Falcon, and the model is my F16V3. The last setup that we need to do is just the universes. We have 96 universes, and that's it. That should do it. I'm gonna click save, and now I have that's already set. Now I can go into my layout and start playing with it. So just for testing purposes, I'm gonna put one string of 50, and since we're testing two of them, I'm gonna put the second one right underneath it. So now we have two strings that we're gonna try to send to our smart receiver. Now, if you remember, what we did in Falcon is that we map string number one or port number one to start on channel 8000 and the other one on channel 9000. So we're gonna come to Falcon and I'm gonna say that the first one, I'm go to my channel and I'm gonna say this one starts on an absolute address of 8000, and I'm gonna click OK. I'm gonna do the same for the second string, but this one is map absolute channel 9000, right? And now it's only 50, but you can have 1024 lights mapped to one port, right? That's how many we can have. I'm gonna click save, and that's it. Now it knows that this string of lights or element or mega tree or whatever you have is mapped to that port, okay? And this one is mapped to the other port. Here we have channel 8000 and 9000. So now I'm gonna go into the sequencer and start a new sequence and see if we can make those lights go on. I'm gonna start a sequence, just animation, plain animation, 20 frames per second, and click done. So I have my two lines. I'm gonna drag a butterfly effect. I'm gonna put it in here. Okay, so one of the lines is gonna show like that, and let me put something else on the other one. Let's do a single strand over here. Let me expand this, and this is just gonna be, you know, it red. Let me change this to be to make more than one, just two colors, and I'm gonna make this more, so now we can see the difference between two of them. Okay, all right, so I'm gonna click on the first one and I'm gonna click that icon to output to lights, and nothing happens. Okay, my board's still off, my LEDs are off, so nothing is going on regardless of what I click. So let's go back into our Falcon controller. So let's go back now. We know this configuration is okay. Let's go into the serial output. And now that we know which port we're using, let's map this to that port, which is port 13. I'm gonna click save and let's see what happens now. Oh, we got communication now, we got lights. Okay, and they are very strong, so I'm gonna go into the string ports and lower its brightness. It's really bright. So let's move this one to 10%. They're just too bright. and I'm gonna do the same for the second one. Oh, this is another one. This one's 10% and 10%. Click save. That should dim them a little bit. There we go, much better. Okay, so 10%. Let's go back to the string ports. So now what we did is just map whatever we have in port 13A in our Falcon controller to this port, to our serial port number 1, and now we have lights, which means that the second one could be mapped to port number 14, this one to 15, even we don't have nothing right now, but let's put it there, 16, 13, 14, 15, and 16. Let's click save. And now we have lights on both of them. And if you can tell, all 4 LEDs are lit now. So now we have full communication without those ports. Okay? Got it? Let's go over it again real fast. So serial port number 1 is mapped to 13, 14, 15, and 16. Okay? Which is the setting that we have in our string ports. Port 13, 14, 15, and 16. We click the plus sign to add a smart receiver from port 13 to 16A. We map just some channels to them so we can actually get to them. I decided to use 8000 and 9000. You can do other ones according to your setup. And in xLights, we told that each of these elements in my layout is mapped to that port. Okay, port 8000, or over here 8000 and 9000, right? If we change those numbers, we're going to lose communication, but I mean, it's up to you which channels you're going to use, and it all depends how many pixels you're going to have in that port. Okay, and there we go. Okay, I'm going to stop it. So now they're off and on again. Okay, so that's the configuration for a smart receiver using 4 ports and no expansion board. All right, and there you have it. So I mean, this little device is awesome if you have to go 50 feet, 100 feet, or even more between your controller and some other pixels. Now, I'm not claiming that this is the only way of doing it, but it worked for me, and I'm pretty sure that it's going to work for you. If you have done a setup like this before, maybe a little bit different, and it works for you too, please leave a comment below. We're trying to help each other here. I mean, understanding the Falcon controller, channels, pixels, connections, power injection is already hard. So any help is highly appreciated. So thank you very much again for watching this video. Subscribe to my channel, hit the thumbs up button, and I'll be talking to you soon. Thank you very much.